In this video, I will take you through the process of making a vest top, which kind of looks a little bit like a t-shirt. To make this top, I took measurements from this other top that I own and I really like the fit of, and I only added a couple of centimeters here and there. This is the yarn that I used. I've got some cotton, some viscose, some polyester. I plied up pretty much all the fine yarn that I own, and I use the plating feeder so that the yellower colors come to the wrong side of the fabric and the pink and white comes to the right side. This still gives me a nice marbly effect and a cute color overall. To achieve the scallop edge, I use the technique I showed you in my last video. If you haven't watched it already, I will leave a link in the description down below if you want to check it out. This is the little sketch of the top, and I wrote all the measurements as well that I took from the top, and also I changed a little bit the neckline. I made it more square and much wider, so I wrote all that down in centimeters. I calculated my gauge and I began converting centimeters in stitches and rows, and I wrote all that down. I'll be the first one to admit that sometimes when I write my instructions, things can get a little bit chaotic. So what I did, I wrote all the instructions on a separate page in the order that they have to be done. So for this particular top, I wrote down that I have to cast on 86 stitches, knit 115 rows by increasing every 6 rows to create that shape. And on row 115, I need to start shaping the neckline and so forth. Here I'm doing a full needle cast on. This will not allow my bottom edge to curl or roll, so it will be nice and straight. After knitting the first row on all needles, I transferred all stitches from river bed to main bed. In total, I must knit 150 rows until the neckline, and I will increase every 6 rows. If you watched my previous video, you saw that I used a 7-prong tool to transfer first. Here I am using a 10-prong tool first, followed by 7, 4, and then 1. This will give me 4 eyelets and 8 needles with 2 stitches. I repeated that 3 times, and after the second repeat, I knitted 4 rows in the contrast color that has the sequins. Here I have completed my body and I'm ready to cast off stitches for the neckline. As you can see, I did some very simple lace hole and vertical lines as well on the front panel. So in total, I have to cast off 58 stitches for the neckline. I want to do a chain stitch cast off with the latch tool, so before that I will manually knit a looser row so that the cast off is not too tight. At this point, I wasn't sure what type of finishing I was going to do for the neckline. The needles on the left side of the machine are on hold, and I will continue knitting on the right side only to complete half of the neckline. I will also put my carriage in holding position by moving the holding cam lever from N to H. One thing I like to do is to e-wrap the little tails over about 5 needles, so I don't have to do that at the end. And after that, I'm making sure to put the needles back in working position by pushing them like so. I'm continuing increasing every 6 rows to the point where I need to put needles on hold to create a shoulder slope. To create a shoulder slope, I will push 2 needles at a time in a holding position, beginning from the right side, as this side I wish to have shorter and the left side longer as per my sketch, and I will knit 2 rows in between. Make sure to move your weight because sometimes needles might tuck if you don't have enough weight on them. Now that I finished, I will put all needles back in work by pushing them like so, knit one row, and then again I will knit a row manually, a little bit looser to use for the chain stitch cast off. One side is done, I will repeat the exact same process on the other side. This is the back panel finished. It's very satisfying when you're removing the waste yarn and you reveal the nice edge, which I think it's really cute. As you can see, I am attaching the body back on the machine with the purl side facing me, and I'm making sure not to stretch the fabric too much. I wasn't sure how to finish the neckline. Initially I wanted to add a full needle rib, but in the end I decided to just reattach the body on the machine and knit a few rows. I use this in the sequins yarn, but if I think about it, maybe next time I should just do it in the same color as the body. In total I knitted 5 rows, and the last row again I knitted a bit looser so that I can do a chain stitch cast off. However, I think I did it a little bit too tight as it was pulling a little bit, but it's absolutely fine. Here I am doing the shoulder seam using my linker, and yes, I know the linker looks a little bit odd, and it is because it broke in 2 separate pieces when transporting it from the UK to Portugal. I need to see if I can fix it, but it works like this as well, even though it just makes my life a little bit more difficult. To do the side seam, I did a matrix stitch instead of using the linker, as I love how perfect the seam will look after that, and I just really enjoy sewing by hand as well. As you can see, when I increased, I did not grab the purl bar to cover that stitch, and I let a eyelet form, but I love that as a little detail. And here's the finished top. Not perfect, but I am pretty happy with it. So the only thing that bothers me is the shoulder seam doesn't sit as flat as I wanted, and that is because the neckline came out a little bit too tight. So just think about that when you're making a top for yourself, for example. But I like the fit. I love the neckline, how it doesn't look square. It looks more like a scoop neckline instead. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've learned a couple of things from this video. If you would like to watch the lace stitch video, it's linked in the description, and also the plating feeder video, just in case you want to check that out as well. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye!